Hi, I'm recording this for Agents of Helm. My name is Johanna with the Agents of Helm podcast, and this is my review of Mrs. Poe by, I don't remember her name, probably because this book was really bad, and like I was talking about last week, I knew it was going to be bad. I don't know why I read it anyway. Historical fiction, I'm really into it. Edgar Allan Poe, maybe, although full disclosure, I'm not like a super big fan of his work, maybe because like we've had so much time between his work and it's been so influential that when you read his work, it's like, wow, this is really derivative, when actually his work is what everything else is derived from. So I think I had some impression that this was going to be like a dark, sexy book. Maybe possibly even kind of like a Marilyn Manson, Evan Rachel Wood, blood on the sheets, like scratching kind of thing. That would be like sexy and kind of dark. This is not that book. So the book is told from the point of view of this female poet, Fanny Osgood, who's no one has heard of, probably because she's a woman. She exchanged a series of love poems with Edgar Allan Poe through a newspaper. He also was kind of involved. A lot of people thought that they were having an affair at the time, but according to historians, it's most likely that she was more of a stalker, or it was like an unrequited love situation. In the book, obviously, it is not an unrequited love situation. They do have like this mutual attraction and they call it love, and that kind of doesn't make sense because it doesn't seem to be, well, I guess it's based on like them having similar values. Anyway, she meets Edgar Allan Poe at this salon where people, famous people are, and you get introduced to all of these famous people, some of which you don't know, and they're all just kind of names and paper thin characters. It's kind of the same complaint I had about Americana, the book by, I think her name is Ndoche, where you get introduced to people as like adjective, noun. So like famous, taxidermist, Ronald McDonald. P.T. Barnum is in here, but he's not that interesting. No one in here is interesting. They all serve as like a backdrop that's flashing lights. This is the early 1800s. This is the early 1800s. Same thing with like the exposition and the dialogue. First of all, the exposition is in the dialogue, which is really annoying, and it's more show don't tell. It's tell don't show. You're supposed to show, not tell. So you'll have this long conversation about like John Jacob Astor, who's like not even in the book, but it's trying to give you this flavor of the times. It's annoying. Anyway, she meets him there. She meets his creepy ass wife. The creepy ass wife wants to be friends with her, and she's like, what the fuck is going on? Meanwhile, she and Edgar Allan Poe are going into like Washington Square, where apparently no one can see them, and embracing, and he's like, I love you. You're my real wife. And she's like, but we can't. No, I'm not. That's pretty much every single encounter that they have. So no, there's not a lot of sexy time going on, which maybe you kind of have to admire, because at the time, you know, they wouldn't be hopping in and out of bed with each other. There is definitely the sense of like, at the time, the attraction that they had for each other might not be appropriate. The amount of time they spent together might not be appropriate. And it's kind of like bordering this line, and I think that's actually something that people can relate to. They're both married, and like, where is the line exactly? So that's not that bad, I guess. But when they finally have sex, it's in the most unrealistic way possible. It's like she sat down and she's like, well, they have to have sex because this is a modern historical romance. How am I going to do it? I'm going to send Edgar Allan Poe to Boston, and I'm going to send her to Boston under the most thinly veiled pretense I can possibly think of. And they're only going to go for one night, because that'll make it more suspenseful. First of all, she's wearing veils and shit to like hide her, but she's like a grown-ass woman, and his wife is like is like this tiny child bride, is what they keep saying, because they got married when they're 13 and now she's 20 and she's tiny because she has tuberculosis. Yes. Blood in the hanky. So yeah, so where was I before I got distracted by myself being clever? Yeah, so I don't know how anyone would mistake this grown-ass woman, for like a tiny porcelain doll-like tubercular person. But then the whole one night thing. Who the fuck at the time goes to Boston for one night? It's not a fucking business trip on the Acela. This is like, I mean, I assume there's a train, but it's not that close. And I mean, even on the train now, it takes, 4 hours. And if you're on the local, it's going to take a little more. So you might not necessarily go up to Boston for one night. So this is where a lot of historical romances fall flat. This is where it starts to feel like Edgar Allan Poe fanfiction. Like, I think it's completely possible that this author is a Mary Sue, and she sees herself as Fanny Osgood, and she really wants to get in Edgar Allan Poe's pants, which is disgusting. Have you ever seen a picture of Edgar Allan Poe? He's like cross-eyed. But apparently, historically too, like he had something about him, so... Anyway, I just can't see it, the face. We'll post a picture on the website. So, one night. Makes no sense. And then when we finally get to it, there's all like this tension building up. And they're like, okay, sex is on. Yes? He pulls up her skirt, which, by the way, she spent 5 fucking pages talking about how she, these crinolines are coming out. And, but I wear 50 petticoats. It's like, how's he getting through all the fucking petticoats to get it on? Like, by himself, a man who doesn't... I don't think she had a hole in her petticoats. Again, like, why isn't this being explored? It makes it seem... It's utterly unrealistic. And that's it. I think she was going for Anna Karenina with, like, the asterisk. But you're not fucking Tolstoy, man. You're who's her name? Because you're a terrible writer. So, of course, being as this is dramatic, she gets pregnant from their one night. And totally, it's like, okay, so now Edgar Allan Poe has a fucking love child just walking around. It's kind of like, and Philippa Gregory also does this, where there's a couple of historical novels out now in which Queen Elizabeth had a bastard, and the bastard is raised somewhere else. And, it makes no fucking sense. Historians have pretty much determined that she was most likely a virgin, or was one of those sort of virgins, but either way, there's no way she was gonna get pregnant and, like, ruin her fucking life. Anyway, Fanny Osgood ruins her fucking life. This is total Edgar Allan Poe fanfiction. And then you realize you're supposed to have been reading what they call a shivery story. This was supposed to be a scary story all along. Except the author didn't tell you that until the last 20 minutes. It's like, oh, I was supposed to have been thinking that Virginia Poe was trying to kill you, but she wasn't. And now but it was her grandmother or her mother, and you're in this church, and there's a pendulum, and you're just in a room full of Edgar Allan Poe references, and you're about to die or possibly lose your child. The miscarriage thing, the possibility came up in my head, and I'm like, you know what? That would make sense. No, she has the kid. According to this book, he has a love child floating around somewhere, or descendants of this love child, and it's absolutely ridiculous. At the end, you get more names, people talking to each other about totally unrealistic shit. My recommendation, don't read this. Don't fucking read it. Don't be like me thinking, ooh, it's going to be goth. And this is Edgar Allan Poe fanfiction, and it isn't even good. Because some 13-year-old who's in love with Edgar Allan Poe would have made this pretty scary and really good. This is not the book. It is not the one. And that is my conclusion. Don't read this book. So, that's the end. I am Johanna with Agents of Helm, and you can find me at Inky Octopus on Twitter, INKYOCTOPUS. I've been told that it's a little hard to decipher from my... exactly that. And you can reach the other agents at Agents of Helm. That's where you can reach me, Joe, Lorenzo, and Malik. If you want to reach us in a group, go to agentsofhelm.com. We've got original content like this, and we've got our RSS feed, all of our podcasts, some raw YouTube podcasts where you get to see me with hair even crazier than this, and lots of other really good stuff. Access to our other social media outlets. I'm talking about Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, and Facebook. We're Agents of Helm, no spaces, no periods on those. Until next time, this is coming out a little late, but it's kind of good because I'm still in the middle of reading The Fucking White Queen by White Queen. I wish I was eating an eclair instead of reading this book. I'm hoping it'll get better. She wrote some bomb-ass battle scenes, so I'm hoping we get a little more of that. So until next time,